What's up, everyone? Ben with the BTC Sessions here, and this is your daily session.
Hodl that Bitcoin.
Before we dive in, of course, a couple quick things. Shout out to sponsors of the show, Ledn.io. This is where you can use your Bitcoin for a couple different services, one of which is a US or Canadian dollar loan with your Bitcoin as collateral, and the other of which is a Bitcoin savings account where you can earn interest on your Bitcoin paid in Bitcoin. If you use the link I provide down below, then and you obtain a loan, you will be credited with an additional $50 worth of Bitcoin. So be sure to check that out. And secondly, if you're into Bitcoin, then of course privacy is a concern. One of the things I use to help with that is NordVPN. I use it on my computer and my phone, and essentially it masks your IP address, it encrypts your browsing data, and it has the added benefit of unlocking geo-blocked content. So if you use the link down below, it ends up being about $3 a month. So be sure to check that out. With that, let's dive in. So the Bitcoin price since yesterday when I did the show has taken a considerable dip. Yesterday when I was recording, it was around 10,100. It's down around the 9,600, 9,600 range. It has dipped below that into the 95s today. So what are we looking at? Well, the $9,800 range was kind of long-term support, and dipping below that is not fantastic. It opens us up to dropping down to the low 9,000s potentially, so down around the 9,049 range. So I guess we'll have to see, but until we can kind of bounce back up, namely above 11,080 is kind of that in the clear range. It looks like we could be experiencing further downside. Now, contrary to what we're experiencing with price right now, there was a pretty bullish call on behalf of Pantera Capital. So they're saying that this year, they're still expecting us to hit 42,000 US dollars, and by 2021, $356,000 is their outlook. So they see it as a basically they've drawn a general trend line which outlines the prices that I said, with 2020 mid-range being around $122,000. So these guys were also back in the day calling for $5,000 Bitcoin back when it was around $100. So it seemed crazy at the time, but it did happen. However, I think, oddly enough, with their calls, I'm more skeptical of this first number of 42K for this year than I am of their call of 356K. So yeah, $356,000 by 2021. I think the second number is more realistic than the first. The reason I think that is because of these kind of irrational, crazy movements that we see in Bitcoin. It will be flat and boring for extended periods of time. It will take massive dips, but then those will be completely undone by insane drives upwards in these manias. And I think that's more in line with what we're likely to see. I don't quite see us skyrocketing through all-time highs anytime soon. Again, I'd love to be super wrong about that. I'd love for us to hit that sooner rather than later, but I'm not super convinced that we would be seeing 42K by the end of the year. I even really doubt that we would see a previous all-time high before the end of the year. I'm kind of expecting that to be pushed till later, but I guess time will tell. However, this higher number, this $356,000, I made a video back in the beginning of 2018 where I was saying that I expected the year to be kind of shit. I expected us to drop quite a bit. My call for the bottom was pretty spot on. I said around 3K, and at the time it was way above that. So that was great, but then I was super wrong about this year. I assumed it would be pretty flat and sideways for most of the year, and clearly that hasn't happened. I didn't think we'd be up anywhere near 10K and beyond at all in 2019. So that has surprised me, but I'm still skeptical that we'll see new all-time highs anytime soon. But when I was talking about the highs of the next bull run and where I thought it would go, I was kind of projecting in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So multiple hundreds of thousands. I said, conservatively, maybe 100K, but, as high as $300,000. So I really don't think that this is an impossible number. I actually think it's, given previous price hikes that we've seen, I think it's actually pretty spot on. Again, could be super wrong about that, but I would not be surprised at all to see these numbers. Another person who has similar kind of outlook is Tim Draper, and he's always been super bullish, but he puts his a bit further out and a little bit lower. He's saying 250K by the year 2023. I actually think that by 2023 we'll be back into a bear market, but that bear market will still be, tens of thousands of dollars. So I do not. Again, it's anybody's guess what could happen, and it's all just fun for speculation. I'm not a trader. I prefer to just ride these waves and relax. So yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Do you think we're going to hit 42K by the end of the year? We'll see. Anyways, moving on. It looks like there is an actual in-writing proposed Bitcoin ban in India. Now, there was some talk about this previously, but it turned out to be a whole lot of nothing. However, this time there is in writing a proposed law. So essentially, they've categorized all cryptocurrency as currency. Or all digital assets as currency, which is clearly, obviously, not the case. But they've kind of framed it, and also there's it's pretty clear that the bankers there are kind of behind this. The Reserve Bank of India is very much in line with what they're trying to frame the narrative as, is that all cryptocurrency is in direct competition to the native currency there, and that they're trying to preserve the value of their currency by getting rid of any other competition in the country. So it still is pretty far off. It still has to go through approvals and everything, but do I think that this will really have an effect worldwide? Probably not. In India, does anybody really, when it comes to currency laws and things like that are easy to subvert, do people really listen to them? Absolutely not. India went through and they got rid of some of the highest denomination bills. Did those bills immediately stop being used overnight? Absolutely not. People just traded them at a bit of a discount when paying for stuff because they knew they couldn't take them to the bank. But it was still, those bills were still used on the street from person to person. So, I don't think that it would be a huge effect. Now, of course, you have to take into account that there are people employed by exchanges in India, and obviously their jobs would be affected, so that's unfortunate. You have people that may not be able to easily access online exchanges. They'd have to go through VPNs, things like that. Now there's a tweet here that I think was a little bit, how should I say it? Alarmist, but it's coming from the leader of one of the local exchanges. Anyways, it said, the world is about to lose 5 million crypto investors, 12,500 blockchain developers, 25 exchanges employing hundreds, 7.4% of all Binance investors. The nation with the leading Bitcoin tweets, if India bans crypto, it affects everyone. Don't let it happen. Step in, join our fight. Hashtag India wants crypto. Now, yes, I do think that for the people in India, it's going to be much more of a pain in the ass. I think that if you own an exchange, then you obviously do not want this to go through. And in general, I'm more inclined to allow for just open competition and allow people to run businesses and people to do their own due diligence. But do I think this would be a death knell for anything related to Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? Probably not. People would just work their way around it. So I guess we'll see what happens there. Let's move on. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin is continuing to speak on Bitcoin. So he was on SquakBox on CNBC talking to Joe again, and his quotes here: "I won't be talking about Bitcoin in 10 years, I assure you that. I would bet even in 5 or 6 years that I won't be talking about Bitcoin as Treasury Secretary. I'll have other priorities. I can assure you I'll personally not be loaded up on Bitcoin." And of course, Joe Squawk on CNBC, he kind of laughed and he said, "Well, never say never," which was a pretty funny ending to the segment. But anyways, if you want to check it out, I will link to the story as well as the actual tweet below. There's just a short little 30-second clip of him saying it. Yeah, it's fun, and I look forward to looking back on this moment a decade out and seeing where we stand. The last thing I wanted to touch on here is I did a video on Blockstream Green, which is a mobile Bitcoin-only wallet a while back. If you want to check that out, again, link is down below. So I was playing around with this today again, because they have something called the Liquid network as well, which essentially it allows people to create assets on top of Bitcoin, pegged to Bitcoin, and trade them around. It's a big help for moving funds between exchanges. So if somebody notices that there's some arbitrage opportunities and wants to move Bitcoin from one exchange to another, but doesn't want to wait 6 blocks in order to do that because they might miss out on the money, well, you can do it with something like Liquid Bitcoin, which is a pegged one-to-one cryptographically proven asset that is, you can be sure that you have Bitcoin, relatively sure. Nothing is ever 100%, I suppose. But it's basically a pegged asset where you can port it over from exchange to exchange and be able to trade quickly. You can also, what they're rolling out over time is, I believe you're going to be able to create actual securities. So if you're a company and you want to list, I guess, stocks on a blockchain that is pegged, you'll be able to peg it to Bitcoin and use it through the Liquid network. Well, you can do that here as well. So I was playing around with it earlier. Now this here is a webinar that Blockstream did about the Liquid network and how it works, and they've now since posted it on their YouTube channel after the fact. So I was watching through some of this, and then I got playing with it on my phone on the Blockstream Green app. What I actually did is I utilized something called SideShift, which is essentially Shapeshift, but not KYC'd. If those of you that don't know, Shapeshift, you used to be able to swap between different coins and not have to sign up or do anything, but it would seem that the US government came hard down on them, and Eric Voorhees was forced to implement kind of like a where you have to have an account with them, sign up and do KYC and all of that stuff. Unfortunately, SideShift is something that came up that enables you to bypass that and to basically go back to the Shapeshift former glory, if you like. Now, of course, you know that I'm not big into altcoins, but I did find it nice and easy to be able to shift between two things. What I ended up doing is I had a Lightning wallet on my phone called Breeze. So I had some Bitcoin in the Lightning network, and I was able to shift that through SideShift and receive Liquid Bitcoin into my Blockstream wallet. So I don't know. It's just cool to see those kinds of things popping up that I didn't know if they would be available on Bitcoin, or rather I didn't think that they would be available so quickly, but now to see pegged assets on top of Bitcoin is really cool. So I encourage you to check it out, play around on that Blockstream Green app. I will be doing a video on playing with Liquid Network later, but I'm kind of waiting for the mobile app to be built out a bit more and to play with it and understand it a bit better before I do that. So I'm going to leave it at that, you guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, hit like, subscribe, and share. If you want to help out the channel in any other way, you can check out either the sponsors down below in the links. And if you really like what you saw, you can drop me a Lightning Network tip at my tippin.me page. And with that, I am out. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you tomorrow for your daily session.